Hello.
Hello, Trevon. We're all like, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to your studio. Make yourself at home.
Get comfortable.
Here we are in sunny Las Vegas. So thank you so much for having us, for being a gracious host. We really look forward to this get to know you, right? We're looking forward to getting to know you better. How are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. A little nervous to be on this side of the camera, but hey, we're here.
Yeah. You're not used to having this spotlight on you.
Exactly.
Right? You're used to being behind the scenes.
Yeah. So yeah, with the video podcast studio, I mean, I guess kind of go back, like I've been doing videos professionally for 17 years, like ever since I was 17. So I guess 18 years now, right? I can't do math. So, and doing videos for my clients and helping them tell their stories, these businesses, I've always stayed kind of in the loop of what's the next trend, what's kind of going on. And I saw podcasting pop up years ago, right? Like, and I was like, oh, this is so valuable because the power of podcasting for businesses, at least, is you just talk. And it's really easy to create content by just talking about what you're passionate about and what you can do. And that positions you as an expert. So we had a lot of clients that kind of needed that, but the cost was just so high for my team to come out and shoot like a production. And so I had the idea a few years ago, sat on it for a while, and then just kind of one day decided to pull the trigger and signed a lease before I changed my mind and got started. So here we are.
Here we are. You know, and it seems like a natural progression. What did you say? What did you do before you got into video podcasting?
Yeah, so we do video. I have a production company called Canico Media, and we do video production. So we do storytelling for businesses where we create their content, right? We shoot their commercials, their website videos, their case studies, and we try really hard to tell story because the power of story is so powerful and there's so much connection with that storytelling that it's really beneficial for businesses to showcase their companies through very specific types of storytelling.
Take us back to that moment, right, where you're like, identify this need in the community. I want to do this. And then that moment from like, okay, I want to do this and now I'm going to do this.
Yeah, for me, I was in the process of building a different company, right? I spent like 7 months building out the customer portal. I spent a lot of time on it. And then I kind of got in my own head and it wasn't really something I wanted to pursue. It was just something that made sense to pursue. Right. And after kind of sitting on it for a little while, I kind of went back to the drawing board. I was like, you know what? I've spent all this time doing it. It's a good idea, but like, what do I really care about, right? And for me, I care about a ton of value for my clients. I really want to be able to provide them with more content that isn't going to break their marketing budgets, right? And so sitting there thinking about it, and I had another client kind of mention podcasting again, and I was just like, look, like there's so much power behind the podcasting platform, right? For individuals, but once again, I tailor myself towards businesses. That's what I've been doing for 17 years, and it's so easy for them to come in here, sit down for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and just talk.
Right. And
then walk away with 50 pieces of content and not be spending as much as it costs to make one piece of content through a production company. Absolutely. And so sitting there, that idea kind of popped back in my head. And then rather than kind of letting it stew and let myself doubt and myself stop myself from pursuing it, I just went out and I was like, all right, I'm just going to find a place and sign a lease. So I looked at like 30 different offices and found this space. And I was like, okay, this is perfect for what we want to start with. So I just signed the lease because like if I sign a 3-year commitment, I have to do this.
Right.
So we signed it, and then I kind of regretted it a little bit instantly. But I knew that what we were going to build here was special, that we could provide really high quality for businesses and for individuals creating podcasts that doesn't break the bank, right? And give them the best quality with the 17 years of experience I have doing professional videos and bringing that into one space and make it so convenient for people just to come in here, sit down, talk, and then walk out with it done, basically. So,
right.
I really feel like that sets you apart from other studios in the area. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to work with you, is because of that experience in doing this. And it's not just, sometimes when you come into a studio, you don't really know what to say. Like, you don't know what to talk about. And you were wonderful with guiding and assisting and giving those tips that is really above and beyond. It's not just about coming in here, sitting down and talking in front of a camera. It's about getting over that initial nervousness, about how to become natural in front of the camera. And you give really, really good advice on that.
Well, I appreciate it. This is a lot of kind words coming my way. So I like that. Maybe I should do more of these.
Well, that's actually how it, we are here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was also our story. We thought about like, we really want to bring this podcast right to the community. We really are invested in it, but how do we do it? Like, coming from a place of like, we're going to start and then like looking at all the things that you have to do, right? And then meeting you and having a conversation with you, you were so kind and you made me feel at ease immediately, right? And you made this possible. So really this podcast exists because you're a huge part of it. And we really want to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's something to note that's when you treat all, I don't want to say that we're not special because I'm sure that we are, but I felt like it was just a natural for you. It was very natural.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. That's kind of one of our goals here, right? Is like, we want to be a guide in your process of creating podcasts, whether that's creating for business or for yourself. Like, how can we make it easier for you guys so the barrier of entry becomes almost zero because there is no, like, well, I don't know how to get started. Well, we can help you get started. Or, well, I don't have the equipment. Well, we have the equipment. Oh, it's too expensive. Well, we can work with you. Like, our prices aren't that bad to start with, And so we really wanted the barrier of entry because I think that there's so much power in storytelling, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that so many people, if not everyone, have stories to tell that can impact and transform the lives of others. And so we wanted to be a platform or a space to allow that to happen.
We all know that these things don't just happen by themselves, right? You didn't do this all by yourself. It didn't just come about.
The majority of it. We saw the putting up the walls and
right.
energy drinks and that, we saw it all.
Right. So how do you approach building trust and deepening connections within your team here at the Video Podcast Studio? And maybe talk to us a little bit about your team.
Yeah. So, I have a great team. We're building, we're small, so nobody's full-time yet, but the goal is to build this out, right, and get everyone full-time. And for me, I've been, with the years of running my own company, I realized that a lot of times I was choosing people to be part of the team because that's who was available, right, versus being a little bit more selective and waiting for the right people. And I've been very fortunate that we have some people that, given life circumstances, have kind of led them here, and they were kind of the people I wanted, So one of our guys is Jordan. He's teching right now in the back there. Me and him met through, I think, a marketing event at like an expo, and he was working for a company, and this was like, 8 years ago or something like that, maybe longer, forever ago. And I was like, man, this guy, like, there's something special about him, right? He has this good personality. And he was doing sales at the time. So we met up to talk about potentially doing sales for like my company, Canical Media, and wasn't the right fit. I wasn't in the right space to really even bring people on back then either. And so we kind of parted ways, but we kept in contact, and I saw him trying to build some stuff on his own. I kind of hopped in and we tried to do some stuff together, and then some stuff kind of happened where it led to an opportunity to bring him in here, which I don't know if he was happy about, but I was super happy about it because when that opportunity arose and, he was kind of bummed. I was like, well, hey, do you want to be part of this? Like, you were my first choice, because I just didn't want to ask you because you had other things going on. And then we have this girl, Andrea, who kind of fell into our lap. She saw one of our ads and she hit us up on Instagram. It was just like, hey, I really want to be part of this. I want to be part of, like, I'll work for free. And I was like, well, we're not going to do work for free, but like, I appreciate sentiment of it. And she's been really cool. I've been really lucky to attract some people that care about what we're doing here, care about our clients, care about the future, understand the vision I have with growing it. And then I think to kind of cultivate that relationship, right? A lot of it is like, yeah, I have my vision and I have the way that I want to run things and do things, but I also want to make sure that they feel like they're valued, that they have a voice here, and that we listen to their ideas and try to pull the best out of what everyone has to offer. And so I think we're doing that. I don't know. Jordan could maybe say otherwise.
So our experience with Jordan, right? Like, your grand opening was fabulous. First of all, like, there was a lot of community members here, and rightfully so. It speaks volumes of, the kind of human you are. So we had the opportunity to conversate with Jordan, and he represented you so well. He was so friendly, kind, and he just held a conversation with multiple guests. He represented you to the T. So we are really happy that, obviously he's part of the team and he's the right choice for the team. Right?
Well, and that was one thing. We actually had a team meeting yesterday, and one of the things we kind of talked about was that the ribbon cutting ceremony, because there was a few moments where I kind of stepped back and watched everyone kind of doing their role. And I was just so impressed with all of them. I was like, I'm needed here, but I'm really not needed here. And that was the goal. I don't want it to be reliant upon me. And when people come, it's like, well, where's Trevon? We want his ideas. I want it to be a team. I want it to be based around everyone and kind of just our company in general. And, what's interesting about the ribbon cutting and how smooth everything went is we didn't have a team meeting before. Andrea was the first time we ever met her. Yeah. Andrew never met Jordan or Tyus or and, we were 5 minutes before the doors opening, before 11 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, people aren't even going to show up on time. We got time to kind of fix some stuff. And then we'll powwow before to kind of what we expect. And literally people, 15 people showed up right at 11.
Yeah.
And we just got started and the team worked so smoothly. And I think that shows we've been very lucky to find the people that we found that are passionate about helping tell stories as well.
Can you pinpoint or maybe go into a little bit deeper, because obviously, is it from your years of experience or is it something tangible that you can say, what method of communication do you use with the team to maintain a connection, but also communicate your business goals? Because, at the end of the day, we all want to make connections, but we also want to have the connection going towards the same end, the same business goals.
And so I've definitely, 17 years of doing this, I've realized that I know nothing, right? That I am not the smartest person doing this. I am not the most whatever doing this. And so, I've learned a lot through trial and error over 17 years of trying to lead people, of trying to get them to understand the vision I have and have us all march to that vision in unison, right? And I had a meeting with one of my clients who is a mentor to me now. And, he was kind enough to give me a decent amount of time monthly to hang out with him and ask him questions. And he taught me something pretty interesting about leadership and kind of leading your team on the end journey. And it's really in the way that you phrase and frame what the company goal is, right? A lot of times I think business owners, they're so focused on what their goals are. I need to make X amount of dollars, right? I need X amount of revenue. Because that means I make X amount of dollars, right? And so when you try leading with that, and it's not the team's perspective or the company's perspective, it's your own individual perspective, it's hard for everyone to get on board because they don't understand the value behind it for them. They don't understand the reason why. And so we have a very specific goal of achieving a certain amount of clientele that'll equal X amount in revenue by a certain specific date and then a reason why. Right. So we set a very specific goal and we set a very specific reason why we're doing that goal. And that allows the whole team to kind of get on board and go. And then it also having that very specific reason behind what you're doing gets the whole team kind of on the same page. Right. So that way, when they talk, if I'm talking to a potential client or Jordan's talking to a potential client or Andrea is talking to a potential client, we all have the same reason to be talking to them. We believe that they have a story to be shared, and we believe that it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to share that story, right? And so we all communicate that way. We treat everyone like they're special. We treat everyone like they have a story to tell because we do believe that it's our company belief that these businesses and these people have these stories to tell that can transform the lives of others. So let's help them do it. So I think that's one thing that I've learned recently, and I saw a change that once I started taking it from more of a company and a team's perspective and making very specific goals and a specific reason behind that goal, that when I started talking to people, they bought into what I'm trying to do a lot more because then they can see it and go, cool, so we need to do X, Y, and Z to be able to achieve that goal by this date. And this is why we're doing it. Now, obviously, there's perks with like bonuses and stuff like that too, but it allows everyone to buy into the vision when you frame it the right way.
Let's go back to like vision, right? Vision is so important. So as a business owner, as someone that's been in the industry for such a long time, how do you communicate that vision? Because sometimes it's not always easy, right? Like we have a vision for our podcast, right? And not necessarily does everybody understand the vision or the purpose of that. But how do you keep that vision always front of mind?
I mean, so for me, like personally, I have a few different goals with different reasons, and they might be the same dates and everything, but my reasoning behind it becomes different, right? My personal reason behind my goals is different than what the company's reason is, right? It's different than what I communicate to the team to keep everyone on board, right? Because for me, my personal one is I want to build this to a certain level of revenue in X amount of times for really two main reasons. One, to provide an opportunity and a space for the people who want to be part of this, and to love where they're working, to love what they're doing, and to help people. And then two, my second reason is for my family time. Like when I can get this to a certain level, it won't be like what I currently have been doing for the past 17 years, which is so revolved around me. It'll allow me to step away and be there for my son's hockey. It'll allow me to step away and be there for my 2-year-old, right? And be at those moments, be there for my wife more, right? Be home more, do more family vacations, and do the stuff for me that I care about doing, right? And so I have these personal goals, and those are always the real reason why I do anything I do, right? Like, yeah, I want to help others, but really me helping others allows me to get the time with my family, right? The freedom to be able to spend time with them the way I want to, how we want to, where we want to, when we want to, right? And so that's pretty easy to keep in front of my mind, right? Because that's why I'm doing this, right? So when it gets hard, I just try to remember why I'm doing this. Like, why am I putting in 17-hour work days to build this, right? Why am I here putting up, all these walls and all these everything, right? Why am I taking this leap of faith and pushing it? It's for my kids. It's for my wife. It's for their future,
right? And
the freedom to spend time with them how I want to and when I want to. And so that's pretty easy to keep in my forefront of mind. And then, I kind of try to tie it into the company's reasoning, right? Like, so for me, I kind of keep basically just 3 reasons. And the third one is what their company's reason is of why we're doing this. And so then it's kind of easy to keep it there.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy to like always want to wake up and do it. Like, it's not easy building a business, right? It's not easy starting a podcast and getting it to a point where there's listeners. Like, it's going to be a grind. It's never going to be easy. Even when you hit a certain level of viewership or income, it's not easy.
Right.
Like, and I think that's one misconception people get about money is like, well, if I could just make $10,000 a month, then I'll be happy. Or if I could just make $15,000 or $20,000 a month, I'll be happy. Yeah. And money obviously allows you the freedom to make certain choices and live a certain way and provide certain opportunities. But it can't really be the end all be all reasoning behind everything, because it's not everything.
Right. I think if you're driven by money or the financial result of it, you'll burn out quicker, right? Because we experience that to get we love our concept, we love what we're doing, we want to do this podcast, but we've also our moms, we have full-time jobs too, and we have husbands, and that also we have those conversations this is why we're doing it, just exactly the same reason that you said for our families. And at the moment when you're taking time away from them, it doesn't always necessarily show up as that, right? But I think in the long run, if you persevere and continue through your journey, you'll see that pay out.
Yeah. Because, it's not easy, right? I've ran my own thing for 17 years, right? I wouldn't call my production company an actual company. I own my own job, right? We don't have full-time employees. Everyone's contracted. And, it doesn't matter how much we bring in 1 month. It's still going to be stressful. It's still, it never ends. And, because I remember when I was younger, when I was like 20 something, I was like, oh, when I can get to $120,000 coming in every year, like we're set, like I'm done. Like I have no worries anymore. And then we hit that mark and I felt poorer than I ever felt before. Obviously I had a different lifestyle at that point, but, and it taught me a lesson that like, enough is never enough to us as humans, right? Like nothing's ever enough. There's never like an end to what we are hoping to achieve. And so you have to sit and learn to be grateful for what you do have and the experiences that you do have and the opportunities that you do have, rather than only focusing on like, oh, I need to get to that next level, right? Don't let that be the only reason why you're trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Like push yourself and do it, but you have to do it because you love it. Right. Like I love what I do, and and building this podcast studio, like I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I've actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I actually enjoy sitting back where Jordan is and cutting and just listening to the people tell the stories, right? Like it's super interesting. And so that gets me through the days and through the doubt of, was this a good choice? Is this going to be successful? It allows me to get away from my self-worth issues that I have of feeling like I can't do it, or I'm not good enough to do this, or nobody will ever want to use our space because I built it, right? Because I love it, I can push through it.
Right.
And then I have my reasonings behind why I want to push through it and the goals I hope to achieve with it.
Right. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Yep.
So your business that you're building, right? You've built it through, Instagram is where I found you, right?
Yeah.
So like building a business through technology, right? And the different social media outlets that there are, how do you maintain authentic relationships with people you meet?
Like when I meet them online? Or
right? Because it's so disconnected. You meet someone through online, but then there's a human behind that, right?
Yeah.
So once you meet them, and like let's say you do work with someone, you have clients that maybe come in once every so often.
Yeah.
How do you maintain those relationships, and how do you maintain the authenticity of them, right?
Yeah.
Because there's superficial relationships, but then there's like actual connections where like you connect on a human level.
Exactly. I think a lot of it goes back to that company vision, right? Or the company motto and our goal of achieving X by this date because of this reason, right? And part of our reason is because we believe that everyone has a story to share, right? And so that belief system that's ingrained into us allows us to view every single person who reaches out to us as a person, as somebody that has something interesting to share, and that we can create a space that allows them to share that maybe that story would never get out if they didn't have this space, so it allows us to kind of not be so robotic with our interactions on social media. And I'm the one that does all the social media currently. So it's me out there just messaging, and it's just my voice, and it's just how I talk or how I do things. We try to keep it pretty professional, but at the same time, like I'm not super professional, in the way I talk all the time. And so I'm not going to fake to be that.
You mean you're a human?
Yeah,
What?
exactly. Right.
Right.
And so like, I'm a big believer of not faking anything on social media.
Yeah.
I don't like to fake that we're something that we're not. I don't like to fake that we behave a certain way. Right. Because I'm also a big believer is the people who relate with us are going to come to us.
Right.
And the people that don't vibe with us aren't going to come, and that's great because we're not a good fit for them. Like if you don't want help with what you're doing, if you want a place where they like are very cold to you and you just show up and you use a space and they hardly speak to you, that's not us. We're here to be friendly. We're here to talk with you and see what your real problems are, and can we help you with that? Are you getting stuck on what to talk about? Well, let's talk about it. Maybe we can provide you some feedback even mid-podcast session, right? We had a client in here the other day, and like 15 minutes into like creating some content, she's like, I don't know what to talk about. So then we sat in the room, we talked about it, we came up with a bunch of stuff, and then I would throw out questions. We'd have the host ask the question, And so we try really hard to be who we are on social media and not put some front of something else, right? And so, yeah, we actually just had a meeting about social media yesterday about how we should proceed with it. You know, we want to show a little bit more raw stuff and behind the scenes stuff that isn't always so polished.
Right.
Right. Because we want to be authentic. We want to show people what it's really like to be here versus like some idealized version of it.
Right.
And we really believe, I mean, that kind of goes to our core of our podcast, is that we believe in that connection, the power of connection, and seeing that it's not, you see this and you only see the edited version. You don't see the, oh, I'm stuck, what do I do? Or you don't see that. So by you opening this up and talking about that more authentically, it also gives people maybe the kernel of hope that they could do it as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, right? I think one of the barriers to entry to doing this, whether you're a business or a person wanting to start a podcast, is the fear of like, well, what do I talk about or what do I do, right? Or I'm going to get there and I'm not going to know what to say or do, or I'm going to feel uncomfortable on camera. But that's the power behind podcasting, right? And talking is not uncomfortable. Like, I hate being in front of the camera. Right? I get super self-conscious about it. Even if I have a teleprompter and I'm trying to read from something, I hate doing it. I'm horrible at it. But I can sit here and have conversations. And then as a business, you can pull from those conversations and create content that's going to connect with your target audience. And they need to hear those stories, right? Like, those businesses need to hear, you know, my sister-in-law or ex-sister-in-law, we were at her house the other night talking to her. She's like, well, how would I do this? I'm a voice teacher.
Yeah. Oh.
How would I use your space? I was like, well, I mean, have you ever had a story of somebody who didn't think they could sing because they weren't a natural singer? Talk about that story. And did they transform, right? Because the power of storytelling, or the biggest power behind storytelling, is the power of transformation, right? Because it gives people hope. People put themselves in the story and they see the struggles that they're having. Like when you're watching a movie and it's taken by Liam Neeson, right? And his kid gets taken and he has to overcome all these obstacles to get it. You automatically put yourself in that situation with your troubles. So maybe that's issues at home with your kid not doing well in school, or maybe it's your car broke down, or maybe it's this or that, but you kind of see yourself in it and them overcoming and transforming and getting through those challenges. You see yourself doing it and provides you hope. It provides you like with the power of going like, I can do this too, because he just did it, even though it's a movie. And that's the craziness behind storytelling, is like it has the power to transform people's lives. It has the power to give them hope. It has the power to connect with them in a way that nothing else could connect with them.
Okay, so let's talk about self-doubt. So, right, like
I got a lot of that.
I gotta, be transparent here. Like this morning, as I was getting ready, right, I go through my process. I am a very like type A person, like let's write everything down and check it off. But as I'm going through my list, like I have a moment where I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing this? What am I doing, right? Those moments that you're like, did I really just get myself into this pickle, and how do I get myself out? So talk to us how you deal with that and how you come back from those moments, because sometimes it can be really challenging to pull yourself out of the hole you put yourself in.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone has self-doubt, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone has, to a degree, most people have self-worth issues, right? Yeah. Trauma from their childhood, no matter how great their parents were, they struggle with some self-worth stuff. I definitely struggle with that. My wife and I had a conversation about that the other night, and she's like, man, it's just so cool. Like, you're doing these things and you're achieving it. And like, I can't start anything because I just don't think I can do it. And I was like, you know what goes through my head all day long? Self-doubt. I tell myself all day, this was a dumb idea. Nobody's ever going to use your service. You're not smart enough to do this. You're not capable of doing this. I was like, that's all my head tells me all day long, every single day. And like, I've dealt with it for so long that it becomes easier to see it for what it is and be able to push it to the side, right? And that's what we have to do as humans. We have to try to understand our trauma and realize that trauma is ingrained into our DNA basically. And so when something happens or you're doing something, you're going to get triggered and that trauma is going to come out and you're going to attach it to the current situation. And when you can start noticing your trauma for what it is and seeing it, then you're able to see the trauma come up and all the self-doubt come in and all that self-hatred come up. And then you're able to look and see what this situation actually is. You know, like for us with the studio, like, oh yeah, it's not busy. Well, yeah, because we're barely even open. I mean, I don't even have the website done. We're not really pushing to get this place busy. And it's going to take time to build this.
Right.
This isn't something where I open like a door and all of a sudden like people are lined up for it. Like there's a, you know, on the sales process, right? There's a whole time delay of when someone wants to do this to when they actually get here to do it. And sometimes that's 6 months, sometimes it's 3 months, you know? And so, you know, one of the best things I ever learned was to understand my trauma. It was to understand where those feelings come from and to be able to see them for what they are and then look at the situation and go, okay, is it justified for these thoughts to be here? No, it's not. That's just there. They're just there, and that's what they are. They're just thoughts. It's not even the situation, you know. I'd feel that way with like emails. Like I email a client, send them the link, and I don't hear back for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm like, oh, apparently they hate it. Apparently I'm not good enough. They're never going to use me again. Right. And then they reach out a month later, like, hey, we want to do another video. Man, the last one was so amazing. I'm like, oh, cool. Like that would have been nice to hear a long time ago because I'm just sitting here hating myself.
Right.
And so it's not easy, but it's something that I think everyone needs to work on and get through because those moments are going to come up, right? Like and they're never going to go away. You're always going to have that fear. And a lot of it's the fear of the unknown.
Right.
Right. You don't know how this is going to turn out. So now I'm scared to do it. But, you know, I mean, I try teaching my son if something's scary, push through it. Right. Like, so why shouldn't I do that too? And so when things get scary, you know, there's a lot of unknowns with building a company. There's a lot of unknowns with starting a podcast. Like, are people going to hate us?
Right.
You know, are people going to like what we're doing? And even if they do hate it, who cares, right? Because there are going to be people that you can touch. There's going to be lives of people that watch this. They're touched by it and it transforms something in their life, right? Mm-hmm. And so what you're doing has meaning. And yeah, even like our company, if it doesn't become the biggest company in the world, that's cool because we're making a difference already in the lives of businesses and people and providing them a place to get their stories out there, to get the content that they're looking to create, to be able to connect with their audience, because that's the whole point of all of this, right? The whole point of the storytelling is to be able to connect with your audience in a specific way to let them know they're not alone, that they can do this, or the other people have been through the same situation as them. And whether you're a business or a podcaster, you know, you're helping these people on their journey of life.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's such an important part, right? Because that's what holds back a lot of people, right? Because they're like, oh, I want to do this amazing thing, but what are they going to think? What is my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? What is my teacher from 5th grade going to think? Like, exactly. And honestly, nobody is as into it as you think they are.
Well, and the thing you have to like tell yourself if you're ever feeling that way, if you're feeling like, well, yeah, what are they going to think if I do this? Or what are they going to think if I don't do this? It's like, well, who cares? What are you going to think?
Yeah.
5 years from now, are you going to be kicking yourself because you didn't do it? Then do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, if you think that honestly in 5 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, oh, I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I never tried to do that thing, that activity. Then yeah, maybe it's not something worth pursuing. But if you're going to feel bad that you didn't start that podcast or start that business or start this, because, you know, my wife and I talk about this quite a bit because she struggles a lot with like that fear, right? Of the fear of like, well, you know, what are people going to think if I try to do this? I'm going to fail, or what happens if I fail? Like, who cares if you fail? Failure is only failure when you give up. If you don't give up, then failure becomes a learning step.
Right.
It becomes a pivot point for you to change, adapt, and transform. And if you don't learn how to do that in general, you're not going to do very well in life, because life is full of failures. Mm-hmm. Life never ends. Life always throws curveballs when you don't want it. So you have to learn to adapt. You have to learn how to get over that fear, which it isn't easy, right? Like it's scary to do something that you don't know the outcome of. It's scary to, you know, what are these people going to think, and when I fail, everyone's going to judge me. Well, they haven't done anything. So let them judge you. You tried something and you failed. Okay, cool. Now you've learned, and now you can apply it to the next thing that you're going to try. And if you don't take all those little steps, then when you really get to the thing that you really want to do, you're not going to have the background, the knowledge, the experience to be successful in that thing. And so that's kind of how I view everything. Is like, okay, well, if I fail, cool, I just adapt and we change it. If this place fails, we just turn the rooms into something else. We turn into a headshot studio. We turn into this. Yeah. We adapt based off of what our clients want, and we move forward. Like, it is what it is.
You have to be able to have that ability to pivot, because I think a controllable future is something that we all would like. We'd love a controllable future, but we ultimately have no control, right? We can only put forth the effort, hope for the best, and pivot if it doesn't work out.
Well, and I think a lot of times we're too hard on ourselves, right? We assume that because we didn't achieve this, that means we failed.
Yeah.
For example, my son plays hockey and he's a goalie, right? And there was a tournament that we were part of, and we were in a level above where his team should be, right? And he ended up letting 6 goals in, and he, was, man, this is my fault. My team lost because of me. And it's like, did you not look at the game? You saw 80 shots. You should normally see like 20. You saw 80. You let 6 in. Your team took like 3 shots. None of this is your fault. You didn't even fail. In fact, you were probably the most impressive kid on the ice on both teams. And so a lot of times we view our failures as failures when they're not even failures.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a lesson. Yeah. There's a lesson to be learned in everything, even failure, especially in failure.
And something you shared with me that I carry is when we first met, and I told you like, oh, I'm afraid of failing. You're like, well, you're never really failing. You're only falling forward. And I carry that to me, like with me now, whenever we're like getting ready or we're planning our outline or, doing something for the podcast. And it's those moments that you really don't know, like the words that you say, what kind of impact they have on people. Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that with me, because that's what gets me through these interviews.
You're welcome.
And I think that, and I would like to know your thoughts. How does vulnerability contribute to creating that authentic connection with others? Like, you are you're telling us things that, like you said, everybody's going to be watching. So how does that play a part in your life? Not just your business, but in your life?
Yeah. I think there's a role for vulnerability, and it depends on the time, the place, and the setting, right? Because sometimes you can't be too vulnerable, right? Because it's not going to be good, right? Like if I go around exposing constantly that I think we're going to fail to every single person who comes here,
yes,
even though that's how I feel constantly because of my own issues, that's not going to instill any confidence in the people coming here, right? So there is a time and place for it, but there is power behind the vulnerability. I did a test on social media a while back because, people always assume that the company I started before was way bigger than what it actually was because of the quality of our product, right? We're a production company. They see the videos that we put out and they just assume that we're some giant team and some huge budgets, and I'm like, it's just literally me and like 2 dudes that help me out occasionally, and when I started posting, I would post content about the business or whatever, and we'd get like no engagement, right? But once I would post some of the struggles of entrepreneurship and some of the struggles that we were facing as running a business and where we are realistically, the engagement went up, like 1,000,000% or something, because we went from like 0 comments to getting like 30 comments of people being like, oh man, that's how I feel all the time too. Or I feel that way in my business. I feel that way in my life in general. Thanks for sharing. And so there's power in being vulnerable and being real and being authentic because it connects with people, right? Like people don't connect with the people that, well, certain people do connect with the ones that are like full of themselves. Constantly, oh yeah, no, I can achieve anything I want to do, right? Certain people will connect with that, but the majority of the people don't have that much self-confidence. And they assume that everyone around them does, when the truth is everyone around you is struggling. Everyone around you is struggling with self-worth issues. They're struggling at home with issues. They're struggling in business with issues or at work with issues. Everyone is going through something. And when you understand that and you can open up, then you do become more relatable. People, I find it refreshing to talk to someone who opens up about that type of stuff. And so, for me, I try to be, I guess, thoughtful about when I do that, when I do open up and I'm more vulnerable about my fears or the struggles I have versus not doing it, right? Because once again, I can't do that all the time, because if I do it all the time, it doesn't instill confidence in my wife in me, doesn't instill confidence in my kids in me, doesn't instill confidence in our clients in the company. And we do have to not necessarily put on a show, but show a certain level of confidence, even when it's hard to be able to lead, right? To be able to lead my team, I have to be confident. If they don't believe in, if they see me not believing in myself to be able to achieve something, how are they going to believe in us being able to get there? And so even when it's hard, though, certain times you do have to muster up that courage, that strength to put on a brave face and go like, hey, this is possible. We can achieve this, because you have to be there for your kids. If you're always talking badly about yourself and how you can't achieve anything, you're teaching them to be that way as well. You're teaching them to not believe in you. Yeah, well, my mom can't help me with this because she says all the time, she's not good at this. She can't do this. Like my son in school, he, was in a private school, in a very hard school, and he set out a goal to get straight A's because he has very specific goals set for him with his hockey career. And so he's only 10, but he knew that, okay, if I start getting good grades now, when I get to high school, it'll be easier to keep a 4.0 GPA and have colleges look at me if I start now. So he set a goal out to do it. He ended up getting a 1B in science. And he's like, I'm just not good at science. And I was like, no, like, let's reframe that. It's not that you're not good at science. You haven't put in the effort. You haven't put in the work as much as you have in math or in English. And so let's work on science. And he ended up that year getting 100% in science in his last quarter.
Wow.
Right. And so that's something I think that we all do. We all go like, well, I'm not good at this.
Yes.
Well, no, it's not that you're not good at it. You haven't put in the time. You haven't put in the work that some other people have. And maybe you don't have a natural ability towards that. But it doesn't mean that you're not good at it. You just haven't put the time into it.
Right. And I think reframing is so important. And we experienced it this week. So we're also in the process of building our website. And I'll share a story with you where, like, I call Shelly up. I'm like, I can't figure this out. And she's like, so how many websites have you built? And I'm like, well, none. And she's like, okay, give yourself a little grace. You may not know how to build the website today, but it doesn't mean that we can't build one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I think that's really important. So what tools would you recommend to like people that, are starting a business or someone that wants to achieve something that they think they can to reframe their mindset?
I mean, I thought a lot of it's just self-awareness, right? Like what we talked about earlier is like you have to understand who you are. You have to understand your trauma. If you don't ever get to that point, it's going to be really hard to reframe something or to, bypass those thoughts that arise because you don't understand them.
Right.
So you assume that they're real and that they're true and that they're attached to that situation. And so then you never get past it. Right. So I think the biggest step, I'm a big fan of therapy. I think therapy is wonderful under the right guidelines and people that are kind of taking you on that journey. And I think if you can do some self-awareness and start looking at, okay, well, when my spouse does this, I feel this way. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like he doesn't love me or she doesn't love me or this and that. Take a second and self-reflect and look at the situation for what it is. Like, what really happened? Oh, your spouse is tired because they worked 12 hours today, or your wife is tired because she's been home with the kids all day, so she wasn't super happy when you came home, wasn't super loving. Okay, does that have anything to do with you? No, it's the fact that she's tired from taking care of kids all day long, and that's a lot of work. We have a 2-year-old, and he's nonstop just destroying things,
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of it, once again, is just coming down and being kind to yourself and being self-aware of what your trauma really is and how it affects you. Because then you can start seeing it, and then you can go, well, yeah, I can't start this business because I'm not smart enough or I'm not good enough or I fail at everything I do. Well, none of that's true. Anyone's capable of doing it. Now, you might not be capable of doing it completely alone. And realistically, I don't think anyone is capable of doing it completely alone, right? You need to build a team. You need to start getting some support from someone. Like hopefully you have a spouse who's super supportive of you. If you don't, find a friend group who is, or find somebody. Align yourself with people that want to achieve similar things, right? Because they're going to push you and you're going to push them and you're going to become on their level. So,
absolutely,
there's a lot of power behind connection when you connect yourself with the right people.
Getting the right people in your circle. And we always say to each other, we're looking for our people, right? We're looking for our people. And with that, really, how we define it is we're looking for people who want to grow, who want to experience life in a different lens, right? Because you're born into this concept of being born into a family and being born into a socioeconomic standing and just the cards that you're dealt, right? And I don't necessarily like the cards that I'm dealt. How do I pivot? How do I get new cards? How do I, make new connections? How do I get people to join my team that see my vision, right? And I think what you're saying is so on point about getting the right people to be on your team. And that's really scalability also, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I think a lot of times too, we get so scared of losing friendships or losing people in our lives, right? But a lot of times it's better to cut out certain people from your lives, because if they're not adding value, if they're not helping you achieve your goals, then what are they doing? They're actually pulling you back from your goals, right? So it's okay for you to outgrow certain friendships or to limit those friendships and have boundaries where you don't see them very often, right? Because in my life, I had a lot of people that were basically just time sucks for me. I enjoyed spending time with them, but it was just me constantly giving advice, just me doing all these things. And 2 years later, they're all in the exact same spot because they don't take any of the advice and they just keep asking me for my thoughts and my time. And, I had to start being a lot more conscious and specific about who am I going to spend my time with, right? Because time is the most valuable thing we have.
Absolutely.
And the people you connect yourself with dictate how you're using your time. And so if you're connecting yourself with people that aren't achieving similar things, that aren't doing anything, well, you're spending your time, your most valuable asset, with people basically holding you back from your dreams. And so for me, my time I want to spend with my family. So in order for me to come leave them, to leave those moments and those memories I could be creating, there needs to be real value behind that. There needs to be value behind our friendship if I'm going to come spend time with you. And it doesn't have to be anything super crazy, right? It doesn't have to be oh, yeah, well, this person doesn't provide all this value, so I'm going to kick them out of my life or whatever. But you need to be realistic about what are your goals? Because at the end of the day, too, the only people that matter are the people in your home, right? If you're married and you have kids, they should be your number one priority, not your friends, not your family, right? It's your family inside your home, your kids, your spouse. And so you have to protect that. You have to protect them. You have to protect your future with them by making sure the connections that you do make are powerful and lead you on the path that you want to take.
How would you define human connection?
I think human connection is, exactly that, right? It's having vulnerable, authentic conversations and moments with other like-minded individuals, right? It's seeking opportunities to be able to connect, not just for your own value, but for the value of those around you, and being able to relate. I think a lot of the connection between humans, right? You think about your day-to-day interactions. I don't like using those self-checkout kiosks. It might be a little bit faster, but I always go stand in line because I like to have that human interaction. I like to be able to oh, how was your day? And have that pointless conversation, but sometimes those conversations actually turn into something a little bit more, and you can put a smile on that cashier's face, and they were struggling that day, you know. And so I think that the power of human connection is so strong that when we are purposeful in our actions and our conversations, that we really can make a difference and transform not only our lives, but the lives of the people around us.
A lot of the time we go through life, right? We have errands to run as, you know, humans. We have to get the laundry done, and we have to go get groceries, and we have to go to the doctor, and, you know, we're just on sometimes autopilot, really, right? So when you speak about like speaking to the cashier, like you said it, like they could be having a terrible day, but like just by acknowledging their existence, like, how are you doing today? How is your day going? You know, having honest, just simple questions. It's very like superficial, right? It's not like we're diving deep, but like that really makes a difference in how we interact with each other in society.
Yeah. And I think, once again, remembering, we kind of talked about it for a second, but remembering that everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody's life is easy. I think a lot of times we forget that. We think that we're the only ones with problems. We're always, I mean, I know in my life, I'm always dealing with something. Like our car literally just like crapped out like 2 days ago. Now I'm like, great, we don't have money because we're building this studio and I have to go buy a new car, right? And so we think that we're the only ones struggling, and we tend to forget, like, hey, that cashier that like maybe isn't that friendly because they're going through something. It's not just because they're a jerk. Most people are not naturally mean, right? Most individuals are not naturally mean people. They're just going through hard times, and they don't know how to express it in a healthy way or how to deal with it in a healthy way. So they take it out on other people. And so viewing people in human connection as actual people and individuals versus objects, because I think too often we view people as objects. Oh, this is just my Uber driver. He's just here to provide me a service. Oh, this person's just this, right? We view them as objects rather than what they actually are as humans. I think that hurts us. And, you know, I've noticed, like, one thing I've tried to teach my son is to speak, is to go after human connection, is to go after building relationships with people, because relationships are so important, right? It's the connections that we make in life that get us to where we get, right? Once again, like whether you're building a business, you're building a podcast, you're doing anything, you really can't get anything done alone.
Right.
At some point, you need help from someone. And you're like, well, maybe I built this whole thing by myself. Like, no, you had to go buy the tools. Somebody built those tools, right? There's literally nothing we really do by ourselves. And so knowing that and being purposeful with the intent of making connections and making relationships, it actually opens up a lot of doors for you as well.
Absolutely. So you wear a lot of hats. You're a dad, you're a business owner, entrepreneur, a friend, right? How do you manage all that? I mean, I know you're putting in 15, 20-hour days, right? But there is a balance there, right? Because you show up for your wife, you show up for your kids. So walk us through like how that looks for you?
Yeah, well, for me, one thing I learned fairly quickly with building my own company or having my own job, basically, right, is that I had to set pretty strong boundaries of what's important to me. And what's important to me is my family, right? So my family comes first. Like, I'm not going to miss my son's hockey game for a project, unless it's a certain size project. And my son knows that. He knows I will not miss a game or a practice unless the money is so good it makes sense for me to miss those moments, right? Because I want to be at every moment. I have him. My 10-year-old is from a previous marriage, and so we only have him half the time. So I really only get 9 years with him, right? I only get X amount of games with him. I only get X amount of summers with him. And so I'm not going to miss that for the business unless it makes absolute sense to miss it, because my family comes first, right? My wife comes first. My kids come first. Now, within reason, right? Like, I still have to show up and work because I have to build this. And currently with building this company, I'm working way longer hours than I've ever worked in a very long time. And I'm very tired. But that's part of the building process. We know, hey, I have to put in these long hours. I'm going to give you guys attention. That just means I'm going to wake up earlier, come do what I have to do. And when I get home, be present. I'm going to be home. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to show that I'm tired. I'm not going to show that I don't want to be talking because of how tired or stressed I am. I'm going to be present as much as I can and be there for my kids and be there for my wife and hang out and talk with her, give her the attention she needs, because that's more important, right? And so it always ebbs and flows in life. Nothing's ever constant. Nothing's ever the same, right? And so, the amount of time I get to spend with my family changes. Right now, it's a little bit less because we're building and we're in the building process. But I know, and the reason why I'm willing to give up, 12 to 14 hours almost every single day right now, except for weekends, building this is because I know that by doing that in a year or two, I'm going to have a lot more free time to be with them. And in the meantime, I'm not going to miss things. I'm not missing my son's games. I'm not missing his practices. I coach 2 of his teams. I'm there with my 2-year-old. I'm there with my wife. I take her out to eat. We spend time together. We do the family things that we want to do. And I make that a priority even if I'm very tired and I don't want to do it.
Sometimes we don't meet those expectations of others, or sometimes, we want to show up but we're working 14 hours. We're busy. We somehow let them down. Or we get into an argument with somebody because we're triggered and then we argue. So what roles does forgiveness play in healing and strengthening those human connections?
Forgiveness to a certain degree, right? Like everything's within reason, right? Because I don't think you should just go around forgiving everyone. I mean, there's some behaviors that you should learn to forgive and move on, but don't forget.
Right.
And set boundaries and not be there. So I don't believe in like necessarily a clean slate of forgiveness and going like, well, I'm just going to keep allowing these people in my lives that keep hurting me. Like, you need to set boundaries and do it, but you do need to learn to forgive, like in our personal life, my wife is a very kind, loving person and she's very understanding. We've built a very communicative relationship where we understand each other and we've learned each other's traumas and we've delved into that and we've been able to learn how to communicate with each other better. And so she'll see on those days where like I come home and I don't have anything to give. I want to and I feel bad for not, but I just don't. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm tired. We woke up at 4 a.m. to drive my son to hockey. I was there for 2 hours, drove him back to town. Then I went to work. I didn't get home till like 8 p.m. and I'm sick and I got stressed because of money issues or whatever it is, right? And so she'll see those and she's very forgiving of me for not being present when I get home, right? On the small times that it does happen, right? Which is good because if she were to come after me and not be forgiving of that or not being understanding, I guess is maybe a better word than forgiveness in that sense, because I haven't done anything wrong, right? Like,
it's giving you grace.
Not living up to other people's expectations doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It means that they have expectations that they shouldn't have. They're expecting you to do something and we shouldn't expect anything from anyone. I don't expect my wife to cook. I don't expect her to clean the house. I don't expect her to show me love or really do anything besides be there for our kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's really the only expectation I have of my wife is like, be there for the kids and be a good mom. But you're too tired and you don't want to cook. Okay, let's go get food from somewhere else or let's go out to eat. Like, you're too tired. Like, your day was too hard. You don't want to clean. Okay. I'm understanding of that. So I don't think forgiveness and what I was talking about is necessarily the right word. I think understanding then becomes the right word. But forgiveness is also important because if somebody has hurt you, forgiving them is almost more of a selfish reason, because if you forgive them, it allows you to move on. When you live your life with resentment, you make poor choices.
Right.
And so I have plenty of situations in my life that, people could say I'd be justified not forgiving or not being as kind and patient as I am, but I don't want to live that way. I don't want that resentment in there, because if I live with resentment, then I behave a certain way or I talk a certain way that I don't want my son to see. Like, I want him to see somebody who's understanding, who's loving, who's kind, but has boundaries and won't put up with certain things. And if those certain things happen, ends the conversation kindly, but doesn't have to fight, doesn't have to argue. You know, I want my wife to see that. You know, I want my 2-year-old to see that. And so, I mean, I think forgiveness is incredibly important. And I think alongside that, I think it's more understanding. I think we just need to be understanding that people are going through hard things. Your spouse is struggling all the time, right? Whether you know it or not. And it has nothing to do with you 99% of the time.
Exactly.
When your spouse yells at you for leaving a sock on the floor, it really has nothing to do with you normally. It has to do with their trauma that goes up. And when they see that sock, trauma goes, I'm not good enough. My husband doesn't love me because he doesn't remember to put his socks away. And then that's where the understanding comes in, right? If the wife understands her trauma and the husband understands his and they understand each other's, and you start to learn that, like, the way our brains work is we're wired for survival. And my survival mechanisms and beliefs and the way my brain works is a lot different than my wife's, right? My brain is focused on providing for the family. I'm the sole provider of income. So 90% of my brain power goes to solving that problem, right? And then keeping my family safe and dealing with issues. And so I literally don't see that sock on the floor or see the trash in the kitchen or the trash that my wife loves to tie up and then put outside our sliding door and sit there and then maybe get a little upset that I never threw it out, but I don't see it. And she understands that now, right? For a long time she didn't. And it would be, of course, or it would be a source of contention for us a little bit until she started understanding that, like, oh, he's dealing with so much, he literally doesn't see it. And because I'm focused on these things with my survival, all I see is that, you know, I do want him to help me, and I try very hard to, you know, help her and see those things and be aware of those things because it's important to her. But she tries very hard to be very forgiving or understanding of me when I don't see those things, because that happens a lot more often than not. Why did you guys get into this? What are you guys looking to do with your guys' podcast? And, you know, what does the power of connection mean to you guys?
For Sandy and I, the power of connection was a lifeline. It was a lifeline during a very difficult time. It started off as we were colleagues. We met each other in our workplace. And as humans who have trauma, we all have walls up and we all have protection in place to protect us from being hurt. Like vulnerability, being hurt, admitting that you don't have it all figured out is scary. It's scary because, hey, that imposter syndrome lives and breathes inside of me, and I actually name her, so she has a name, and she has a loud voice, and that voice is loud. And we went through, obviously everybody went through the same thing within the past couple of years. So going through that, it kind of put us into a cocoon. Well, we had, for me personally, I was at a point where I either looked deep or I was going off the rails. There was not going to be a forward momentum. So Sandy kind of, like I said, I need a map. And Sandy and I kind of created a map together of how to get through this difficult time. And we really relied on each other, and we talked authentically and real. And we got very real very quickly because of the circumstances where it may not have ever happened like that.
Right.
You would have had your wall up. And I'm very persistent.
She's very persistent.
When I decide that I want to be someone's friend, we're in it. Let's go.
She
right?
removed my wall brick by brick for sure. Like she was in it for the long haul.
Yeah, so we have, and really it was that support that has prompted me to be who's sitting here right now, is our connection to each other. It's helped me discover myself. It's helped me dig deep. And Sandy and I come from very different backgrounds. We come from different parts of the country. And we found connection in being ourselves. Yeah. And when you dig deep, you have a lot more in common with other people than what appears on the surface.
Absolutely. And a lot of that is sometimes we think we're all alone, right? And it feels like that. Sometimes it really does feel like we're alone. We don't want to share with people. We don't want to tell people what we're really going through, what we're really feeling. And for me specifically, I come from a very I'm going to button up and nobody's going to know, everything's fine. We're going to just push through and we're going to make it happen, right? And really having someone to be like, it's okay. It's okay to let that wall down. It's okay to let me know what you're really experiencing right now, right? Having that someone in your life to be able to be vulnerable and be a real person, be a real human, it really changed the course of my life. It changed how I present myself today. It changed who I am, how I show up for my husband, how I show up for my kids, how I show up for my people. And Shelly is really that for me. And I thought it was so important that we bring that to the community, because there's people out there who are struggling, and there's people, like you said, who have a story to share that can change somebody's life. So that's really the purpose of the Power of Connection, is bringing that to the community and putting it out there so whoever needs it can take away whatever they need from it.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited for you guys' podcast because I think there's too many podcasts and social media pages out there that portray this fake image of success, and it makes us all feel like we're failing all the time when the reality is we're all struggling. Right. Even the people making a lot of money are struggling. They have a ton of issues, and your guys' podcast is going to be interesting to watch grow and be a small part of, because you guys are going to share those stories. You guys are going to be sharing real stories from real people that are going to connect with people and that are going to have an influence in their lives, and let them know, like, hey, you're not the only one that feels this way. You're not the only one that goes through this. You're not the only one that struggles in your marriage. You're not the only one that does this. And this is how these people are getting through these moments that are hard, and you're not alone, and you can get through it too. And so I'm excited for you guys' podcast, because I think you guys are going to do a lot of good out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to correct you. You're a big part of our podcast right there.
Yeah, not a little part, a
big part.
Well, I appreciate you for letting me come on here.
Well, thank you so much.
We appreciate you and your time
you.
and your gracious host. So
yes, thank you.